So we have a really lovely um lady person in the candlelight, and I've gone for this one, but there were obviously lots of lovely choices. So you could have gone for, let's see, this lady here, or another lady with lots of candle sources, or a little boy there. There's all sorts of different ones. So just go for whichever you fancy, and you can apply it to pretty much everything. The focus definitely with the pastels today is that we're not trying to, and this is where it changes, we're not trying to create a portrait as such. What we're trying to do is do a study of how light reflects from the light source, which is the candle, onto the skin and clothes. So if we can think like that, it also makes it much, much more pleasant to, kind of really explore how that works and the different tones and the colours that we can build up. And actually, this is where we're going to avoid white until it's very, very necessary, because that's quite often the biggest kind of hitch in a way. It holds us back when we're going to use white. It makes everything feel flat. So what we're going to focus on is all of the really warm colours, and also using brights in amongst this because it's quite dark. So we're not worrying about what the shape of the nose is, about getting an exact eyebrow, etc. We're going to just explore how the light hits the skin. And I'm just going to pop this into 4 because it really does help. I'll just draw a little line down whereabouts it is. The middle. Maybe I should have explained that, shouldn't I? Mhm. There we go. And then we'll do the same here. But nice and lightly. So you don't want it too dark on there because it will be difficult to remove. And if it was me doing this without the demo, I would be using a much lighter shade, or a much, sorry, darker shade, almost to match that, just so that I can see it. But obviously I need to demonstrate this for you. So you need the brightness. But yeah, go for 1 or 2 shades, just slightly lighter than the paper that you're using, not too light. And then I'm going to pop that to the side. And I am going to use a lighter colour to go in and just sketch this out. I'm sketching this with a pencil, but I did use a pastel today. I may reach for my pencils a little bit more just because I'm working on such a small scale, but I did use my pastels pretty much predominantly this morning. And especially the bigger you go, if you go right up to A3, even that works as well. So let's have a little look at what colour I could actually use. Will that show up? Let's see. So I'm actually going to start with the shoulder here. And again, we can see, we can have a little look at how far up this shoulder comes. So like just this bit here that's just kind of in line is quite low down, isn't it? So if we did 1, 2, 3, there's almost 5 of those. It's almost just over a fifth of the way up the page really for the shoulder. And again, just out of interest, just see how much space that shoulder actually takes up. We can't see much of the dress here, but it comes right down the back there. And then the shoulder is here, but it's actually much wider than we think. And also we can just, take note of the shape and everything. And we can adapt that. None of these lines are permanent. That's the beauty with pastel. We're just going to kind of get a start, and we just need a base. And then we can move and shift all of these shapes around, which is what we nearly always do, because we're, focused more on it. I want to do what I think I can do with a dress at the back, but I'm not really seeing this that clearly. It disappears away. And then we've got this dress as well, comes down a little bit, kind of just about halfway between the middle here. And then all the way across there. And the dress is very childlike. So this obviously is a young girl, youngish girl. And that dress kind of flows. It's quite a flowy dress, which gives us a clue that it's a younger girl. And then I'm just going to look at the back of where. So I'm looking at how far down this comes. And again, it's difficult to see. So that will be very light. When we start to sketch these in, it will be almost like we can't actually see much of it. Let me move it down a bit further, actually. And then we've got the back of the arm starting. And again, we can put a little mark whereabouts we think the elbow comes to. And again, it's really quite difficult to see that. So we can give an indication of whereabouts we think it comes to. I think it comes to about there. I think the arm is quite flat and then it's kind of lifts up there. When we put these lighter lines in, everything looks much wider than it will do because we will flatten, areas down or make them appear to disappear just by putting those darker colours in, but we're just kind of giving ourselves a base really. And then, you're looking at, how wide the arm is. Well, actually the arm at the top certainly is over half, isn't it, of the actual paper, the actual section here. So, don't worry about, mainly we maybe going a bit too thinly with it. Pop that there. And then I'm going to bring that over. Now, I have started with the arm just because it's really helpful. So you feel like the head's not floating, gives it, a little bit of something to be fixed to. And then we've got this little, I'm just going to check the angle, and it comes upwards a little bit to about halfway down the end of this hand, isn't it? The edge of the hand. So again, that helps us quite a bit, but it's quite low. So you just pop a few little lines in to help you along the way, and I'm following this up. And then we've got the back of the hand kind of turns over here. I'm not even thinking about getting those fingers perfectly done again. I'm just going to be looking at the patches of colour that make the shapes of the hand and get those reflections on them. So I'm not really doing a lot of time on the actual drawing. So I'm just going to kind of get some shape in here. And again, it's just a couple of lines. And then this hand here that's coming around the back, we can't really see. Maybe we could just catch a little bit of something there. But some kind of hand. But what I'm going to do is focus on this almost like this lovely arch where the fingers go, and it's kind of a little bit like a bowl shape underneath them. And just focus on those, getting that in. So it's the shape I'm looking at. The fingers and everything I'll pop in later with the shape that it's making. So we're just looking at, so I'm not drawing like as such, I'm just getting a few little bits in, that's it. So like the shapes of the hands and everything will come later. And then we'll pop the candle in. Now this one's leaning just ever so slightly, it's got a bit of a lean on it, but you can do it straight if it's annoying you. It doesn't have to stay like that. It's really beautiful. I just love candlelight. It's so lovely to explore it as well with the colours. It's really fantastic. So again, I'm just going to pop in just the key bits. You can make this longer, thinner, wider, shorter. And I will just pop whereabouts the candle's going, but I'm going to do stuff to change that anyway. And then I'm going to continue to pop this dress in. I might just pop a couple of little, like where some of these folds are in the dress, and there's something there, like a bow or something. I'm not sure what it is. But again, a lot of this dress is properly in the shadow, isn't it? And we can pop a couple of any kind of creases or anything we see as well, just to give the impression of the fabric there at the back of the dress. And again, like I said, if you really look carefully, you can just see part of that dress, but you can't see it going away even. It's very, very faint. So I'm going to follow this across the back of the shoulders, and then I'll go in and look at getting the head and everything into place. Now, what I'm not going to do is start drawing the hair on first, because that often makes us push the face in too small. We should always leave enough space for the hair, and the hair actually often takes up a lot because fringes are always bigger, hair up is always bigger, and so even a centre parting. So we've got to make sure we leave plenty of depth at the back of here. So I'm going to look at where I think whereabouts the forehead starts here. And again, we're not trying to make this perfect portrait. What we're trying to do is work out how all those colours play on the face and you know, illuminate the features. And that's what we're going to do. So I'm just going to get a bit of forehead in. I might just look at whereabouts the nose comes in. So the nose actually comes up quite neatly up onto the centre, doesn't it? And again, it's going to look a little bit strange for the time being. So let's see. Yeah. And get that nose in. A lot of the nose and everything, I mean, I'm going to pop just a little where the nostril is and where the edge of the nose is. But again, this isn't going to look accurate until we start getting in those patches of colour. So let's not worry too much about it. I'd rather we focused on the light and then it will just happen. And then we've got the head going down, like the lip coming out. But again, we've got a lot of suggestions of shapes on here. And I'm just going to kind of work my way through here and just make sure I'm making this chin long enough. So I'm going to actually start to pop the neck in as well. And the neck almost follows the line of that arm. So that's really helpful. And then I'm also going to look at where the chin comes. And then anything in between, we can move it then. We're not like, you know, we're not tied to keeping these lines at all. They're movable. And it can. So I want to make sure I can get lip. A suggestion of another lip in there. But again, this will be all the illuminated colours we end up putting in will create that shape as opposed to the way around. And then I'm just going to do a little contour here. Oops. Where the chin is. There we go. And then I'm just going to pop in, look at where the eyebrow comes. And this is obviously the end of the eyebrow where the eye starts on the other one. I didn't really draw the eyebrows in too much. I'm just going to put a very brief line because again, this is part of the putting the shadows into place that will help once we get started. And again, the eye, I'm really not, we're not drawing the shapes of the eye because it's very difficult to see it. What we're going to start doing is just popping a couple of lines in. That's it for now. And it'll look a bit odd, but don't worry because we're going to just soften everything down once we get all these lovely shapes in. So then what I can really do is just check that I have left enough space up there for the hair, which I think we have. Hair comes right back and up and over. Quite difficult to see. The back it's so covered and it's got very similar colour, isn't it, to the curtains at the back. But I can start to pop in here some of these shapes of where it comes over the ears and then how the hair, oops, I've brought that in a little bit too far, where the hair kind of comes over the back of the neck here, and we've got some of the colour of the shadows under the hair as well there. And then you can just adapt that. But like I said, this isn't going to look, we'll get that shape in properly once we start to get all of the different tones of the skin. We're just trying to get a little start. You can even pop in if you want to, if it helps, you know, where the edges of some of these darker areas are on the curtain. And you can use your darker colour to let that dark colour come through. Or if you've not quite got like the very dark paper, you can do the opposite. You can just put the dark one in and use your paper for, you know, some of the curtains or whatever. But I'm just going to pop them in. Just helps with setting the scene, doesn't it? And then we'll look at those curtains in a minute. So I am going to now I feel like we're starting to map out, just soften off these so that it's not kind of distracting from the picture. And if you've done it nice and lightly, it'll just nice and gently wash off. Just move off so you can focus on your picture. And then if not, we'll cover it up with what we've got anyway. There you go. So thinking about really where to start with it, but I'm actually going to start with some of the placing that background in, so that, you know, once we come on to doing the face, it's all kind of set in, it's all set into place. So I'm going to use the dark to, you know, use the back of the, to kind of highlight the back of the curtain as well. So we'll have a look at that. So I'm going to look at some different tones of brown. Now this is where it's really helpful to just have a little bit of a check of the colours to make sure. You see, that's quite a light brown, and I'll go in with a lot with that as a lighter colour probably. So I'm looking for one of my darker browns. Yeah, that's quite a good one. It's quite warm. Let's see what this one's like. All right, that one, I think. That one's a bit too warm for what I want to put on. So this is what we're doing. We're just kind of looking. So there's a couple of other areas here. I'm just going to get those in because that's kind of where the shadow of the roll of the curtain is. Just so that I don't go over the black, actually. It's almost the same as when we're reserving the white in the watercolour. So a bit lighter. So I'm just be mindful to go around that. So I'm just going to start to kind of get this in, get it set in place. It's really helpful when you've got a darker paper under because, you know, we're not using the pastel quite as heavily as we need to. So that's really good. So this top bit that is it is illuminated. It's illuminated about the curtain behind. You know, I'm going to pop that kind of in over the top once I've got the curtain in. But what I'm thinking about is I'm looking at this curtain and how much lighter it is illuminated around it, and I'll deal with that as it comes to it. But where we have, it's much darker in the shadows underneath the hands and around there. I'm going to use my pastel, but really sparingly. So I've just got like a hint, but actually you can see the dark paper coming through it. That's really handy. So normally we're often saying, let's cover that really well, you know, put plenty on, but actually something like this to let that dark colour highlight through it, just pop it on really, like almost leaving gaps between it, is actually really, really helpful. The same over here. I can kind of, there's just a very small hint of it, but I'm just of the curtain behind, but it's really very dark. It's difficult to see. So again, in these areas that are darker, even at the top here, I'm really just putting a very small amount of pastel on and letting that dark come through so it's darker there. And then as we get towards, and again here, look, it's quite dark there. Just going to very gently put a small amount of pastel in there. And then as it comes out and down, you know, the nearest to the curtain's it's getting lighter there, isn't it? So let's see. That's the beauty of it. Pastel, we can let the colours come through, or we can put them on thickly and block the colours of the paper out. Gives it a bit of kind of fused texture as well if we don't put that on too thickly. Makes it interesting. Again, I'm just around the kind of edge of the body here. I'm just making it very, because it's quite shadowy here. I'm not putting much on at all. I'm kind of building this up, and then where it's a bit more brightness around, you know, all this bit here, make that a nice, a bit thicker. There we go. So that's really quite enjoyable fixing those in, and it's really nice as well. So again, we're a bit behind the candle here where it's a little bit darker at the bottom, it was less illumination. So then in here as well, we're working exactly the same way, you know, getting the darkest areas in, then we're going to kind of work to make those much, we'll work to the lightest. So I'm not going to go really light because obviously it's a very dark painting, pastel painting. Just find some tissue paper. But I'm going to, there are little areas around here which are a little bit more lit. So that's where this other shade is, I'm going to come in. And again, I'm going to use that really sparingly, just where maybe that curtain picks up an extra bit of light, for example. So in some of these areas behind the candle, and kind of as it's catching, we've got this kind of, it's casting up, isn't it? So we'll just pop in just a bit more light in those areas. Underneath, make it a bit brighter. And when you start to look, you might see some other areas and think, oh yeah, no, actually it's really bright there. Much brighter all around. Yeah, leading up to the face, and now I'm noticing it, these are the things that we are doing this study for, to just pick up, like, how does that candle light pick up on the fabric? Not just the girl's clothes, but also, the fabric around. So I've just kind of brushed that over the top because I want it to be quite subtle. I don't want it to distract from the candle and the girl. But you might want to, just kind of look at some of the edges of these curtains. Do you want a more clear fold or not? I'll highlight the edge of it now to make it even feel like it's rolling in more. I know I've got an extra fold in mine, but I quite like that, so I want to stick with it. And then again, around this area of the candle. It's just lovely. When you start looking at all these colours, you never really maybe thought would. I mean, you can go in with a different colour. You could go in with a warmer one if you wanted to. I suppose. Let's have a little look. This is why it's all about the experimentation with it. Try something else. Try like an orangey colour or a rusty colour. So if I try that just under where that candle's going upwards, maybe I will. Maybe I'll just add and see what happens. I haven't just a little bit of orange, or I've just lost my just realised I've just lost my shadow here, so I'm gonna pop that back in. This is the other thing that can happen. You can end up losing your shadows if you kind of not careful. That's fine, as long as I'm careful not to over mix it so it doesn't all blend together, it'll be fine. So yeah, so I need to do that carefully. Is the key. So if I try again, let's try and pop it just in this area. And again, I'm just being careful, just swapping fingers over for a minute. Yeah, so you can explore with other colours. It might be that you think, well, it seems to be coming all the way across there, or I'll just pop that on. And just have a really, really good play with it. So I'm going to pop my candle in just so that it gives us a bit of context to the girl, so that when it's reflecting off, we're reminded all the time that's what it is. It's the candle there. That's quite helpful. So, I mean, and what I'm looking at in all of this is because it's so much focused on the light and how the light transfers and picks up different colours and reflects. We also need to be aware that there's going to be much darker, because it is in the dark as well. There's going to be much darker areas in the shadow side of things that are unlit and away, like the underside of the hands, the underside of this part of the whole, that part of the arm, which is well to the back, and this part as well, it's to the behind her, and how that picks up. So again, even with the candle, this side is much darker. So again, we're going on to a brand new bit. So I'm going to get that candle in first, and I think I'm going to use a little bit of a kind of a pinky purple. And I think I'm going to use a little bit of a bluish colour, a blue colour as well over the top to make it even darker, because I didn't quite have the right colour. So if I layer up, which is what we can do, we can layer two colours on top of the other to try and get the colour that we want. We can't mix it on there necessarily. It's just more that we're over layering and layering two colours up. So I'm going to take this side of the candle, which I can see is in the shadow, I'm going to go in with the blue. Just get that in. Fix that into place. Blow off the dust. You know, so if you're working tiny, you want to get a straight line, then that's where we can bring in this fabulous little blending tool. You can move get those edges nice and straight if you're wanting to. Just helps when you're working small. And then I'm just going to go in. I want this to be quite blue toned and dark toned, so I'm going to go in, overlay. I'm putting plenty on because I need those colours to go over together. And again, I'm just going to just carefully fix that in. It's going to be nice and dark in the shade, but also it just gives it a little bit of a pop of a tone underneath, which is nice. There we go. And then I'm going to go in with some other lighter tones around the candle here. It gets a bit warmer as it goes around, so I'm just thinking I might just have a lilac-y colour. Let's just see what that looks like next to it, whether it looks too nice. That's a lilac. It's going to be too light, so I'm going to go in with a darker lilac. Some very, very, because some of these lighter pastel tones are going to make too stark a contrast, because we're in the dark, so we need to be aware of that. So I'm going to go in with that one instead. So I'm going to go in with this candle, bring it all the way down to where, even if I'm not sure exactly where the hands are going to go, I'll just bring it down as far as possible. I can put the hands back over it. I'm going to go over the whole of that. I'm not worrying too much about the whole shape at the moment. And then I'm going to just give that a bit of a blend in there. I need to put another layer on anyway. Very tiny spot to blend in this for me. So I'm going to just get a little blending tool here again, just pull that down. Top's going to change in a minute anyway, but I'll just give it a bit of shape there. Okay, just give it a little bit of a top. And then here, I am actually just going to bring that just very lightly over the top. Now we know if we overmix some of these colours, these tones, what can happen? Is that they get muddy, don't they? So all I'm doing is I'm just making sure that we've got, just kind of dragging some of those tones. Just kind of spilled over a little bit, but that's okay. I can always pop a bit of that brown. And this is what I was trying to say before. You know, we don't really need to worry too much because we can just put it back in. Background can just go back in again, and it kind of reshapes things as well. So that's where I am. I'm going to just add a very small amount of a little bit of orangey colour on there, just so we've got some of that glow coming down the side. And you can afford to be to put these brights in because everything is so muted. Where you get any kind of light, don't be frightened to try pops of light there. So then when we're thinking about coming in with the actual candle, what we need to start to do is really observe. So I'm going to look at a brighter colour here and see if that works. Now it is over the shadow side, but there's just a touch, what I'm seeing as bright. I'm also seeing a touch of pink. I don't know why. We'll all be ending up seeing things quite differently. So I don't think that's a hot enough pink. I'm trying to find a really vivid pink there. No, that's too light. Oh, well, maybe that one. Oh, yes, I like that one. So I'm just going in, again, this is a darker colour, so I'm layering up with that just where I can see it, just at this side here. But whatever you see, you have a go at. This is the beauty of it. I'm just going to go in. I am just going to go in, just tap it very gently. You can use your blending tool, a paper one or this, but you've got to be mindful it doesn't kind of come back off, and also give it a bit of a wipe off on your tissue, or you can use a bit of a wipe or flannel or something like that. I'm just observing all the colours, because even the candle light is illuminating parts of that candle. So I'm seeing some other warm colours put through here, but they're not quite as intense. So I'm just going to pop that in, the less intense bit, kind of near the surface. A bit pop there. And I'm seeing quite a pop of this pink, so that's what I'm going to pop in. And I've got it on its side and I'm pressing down. So I'm getting a much more intense bit of light on that there. And then we'll have a little look with this bit of the candle comes over. So it's like, again, you know, what colour are you seeing? I'm seeing a bit of yellow, but I'm going to go in rather than going in with this. So let's see the difference. Okay. Which is very light, which I might go in for the middle of the candle, but I'm looking at some of the other colours that are slightly brighter and warmer. Let's try this one. That feels warmer somehow. Not this one. So let's see. I'm going to go with this one that's the warmest of all of them, and I'm just going to pop in across that candle, across the centre of it, where I'm seeing it much brighter. I can always pop a bit of the lighter colour in the middle of it. Okay. So we're building this up like anything else with brights. And then I may just go in with a much slightly lighter one again, just across the centre of it, which is what I'm seeing it being a bit lighter there. There we go. I'm really thinking about it, really thinking about, you know, which bit is light. And this is exactly what we're going to do with the face. It really isn't quite as tricky as well, there's a lot to think about with it, but it's actually, we can break it down just to think about where this light is. So now we've got this lovely candle light. The biggest mistake people make with the candle light is that they go straight in with a white. And what that does is just make it looks very, it kind of can make it look quite flat. So we're going to build it up, because you'll see candlelight gets these kind of rings around it, which warms the whole thing up. And then right in the centre, if you wanted to, you can go in with a bit of white, but I tend to go in with warmer colour. So I'm looking at what colour I'll get with these ones in the background. So I'm feeling like, where the candle is. And you can make your candle bigger or smaller, by the way, as well. So I'm just going to kind of bring in this, almost this halo effect here. And I'm going to be careful underneath because I've got brown drip. Now, if you want to soften all that down, just give it a tap over. And then you can just very carefully just soften that over the edge, just push it out. It feels a bit more halo-esque. And then I'm thinking about what other colours are also in that halo. Is there a bit of yellow, for example? Sometimes you get two. You might see a really much darker one around the outside and a brighter one in the middle. And again, just soften it, just give it a little flick around. Don't be frightened of the colour though. Getting it really bright in there. I'm going another layer of bright, it's not quite bright enough for me. Now, obviously the candle is going to go over the top of this. You won't see a lot of it behind, but we can just definitely, just soften that. And again, you can even put another colour a bit around it and make that softer if you want to. And then we need to go in with the flame now. So it's deciding what colour are you going to go in what for? Well, I'm going to go in with this kind of brightish yellow one now. Over the top of that, see if that creates, we need contrast. We need to be really, it needs to really stand out. There's this candle. I'm putting plenty of pressure on. So that it really illuminates. Now, if you start losing your shape a little bit, like I'm working in a very small area, so I'm starting to lose mine, then all you need to do really is to kind of just create the edge of that halo again in there. It'll bring your shape back in a little bit. There we go. And you may have, if you find that in there's a touch of, you want to just pop a tiny bit of white or something in the middle of it just to make it, then by all means do, but you don't actually necessarily need to, because sometimes the contrast between the warm brights is all you need. But try pop a little bit in, just explore what happens if you do. Okay. So I'm just going to now soften the outside of that down a little bit. And then once obviously we've got the candle in, that's glowing on there, because we've built up the layers over the warm as well, then what we'll be able to do is start to look at what's happening over here now. I'm going to go in with the face just because I want to see how that's reflecting up there now. I'm wiping my fingers off. I'm going to follow exactly the same process with the face, and I'm looking at the shapes and the colours and the tones in there. So I'm going to go in, I'm going to actually have to work in reverse a little bit and leave the dark colours in and on here and work these colours around the darker areas, because I'm going to let those dark shadows come through in the face, but we're going dark to light again. So it might be that the black areas, if you've got black paper, are too harsh. So you just have to have a little explore with that. Just move these colours up here. And again, you may end up with a totally different set of colours here. So test out, what have we got? Quite a few lovely ones, isn't there? So, so I'm going to go in. I'm going to pop some kind of browny colours in here. But I'll end up popping some of those like back. I'm just thinking that might be a bit dark, but we'll see. So I'm just going to come back. It's not a warmer brown. Yeah, it's a darker brown, but I'm going to pop this. Actually, instead of having it really dark here, I'm just going to have it as a place saver. So again, we're looking at these darker areas that we want in here, like we would do on any picture. Again, obviously it's like where the nose, a little bit of the nose is. So we're not trying to draw the nose. We're just placing the shadows in, really simply placing the shadows in there. I'm going to do the same kind of down the neck here. Just popping those in. Now, if you want it to be black, that's absolutely fine. Just let that paper come through, or whatever paper you've chosen to go for. You can always, adjust the setting on that with your colours. So I've only just popped a few in for now. So what I'm going to do, I'm now going to look at some of the other really quite dark and mid-tones here. So I'm like, oh, trying to work out what that is. It's I'm also almost seeing some red tones in there. Let's see what else. Or some orangey tones. I wonder, is it even like a sienna-y colour that I'm seeing in there? So all we've got to just test the colours, and then you can then decide. It may be you haven't got the right colour in there, that's fine. just go in, have a little explore with um, some of the other colours that you might want to layer up, or just go in with some. I used quite a few brights today actually, so I'm quite tempted between these three together. Do quite like the sienna, but maybe it's not going to give enough warmth. So I'm going to click grey and go in with this red. I always put a layer of a colour on top. And it's like looking at kind of in between these two. This is what I'm seeing, because it's very dark over here, isn't it? Pop these shadows in that are more in the dark. And along the cheek. And again, these colours are going to create the shape for us. We're just going to go in with some of these tones that you can see and start pushing them down, even if it looks like the girl has got some really strange shapes at the moment, because it's how we layer those up and set them into stone, set them in, and as we go in, we'll start to work out more colours and things like that. So I'm just going to pop those in. Also seeing a little bit of the eyebrow here. It's quite bright now. It's all to explore. We'll never know if we don't start laying these colours down and having that we can see ourselves and seeing how they fit together. It's really quite exciting exploring that. Even if we think, oh my goodness, what is this going to look like? Don't worry about that. Don't worry about that. Just keep laying them down. Even if it looks a bit scary at the moment. I want to layer some other colours on top because I haven't got the exact colour, so I'm using this red underneath an orangey one. So then I'm going to go in now with some other tones I can see that are quite bright around their forehead. And these aren't my final highlights at all. These are just the colours and the tones that I'm seeing myself in there. As we build them up, we'll start to create a bit more of the shape that we can see. And a bit here, comes down there, underneath the eyebrow. And so pop some of those tones in if you can see the shape there. Just kind of keep adding these colours. Even if your brain's saying, it's not working, it's fine, just keep going. It's because it looks unusual at this stage. Did it this morning and everybody felt the same. Again, I'm looking at some of the colours on the nose. So we've not got all the elements in place yet. We're just trying to kind of get those in as we go. Still popping them in. There will come a time where we'll have to pop some little features in just so that we can, so we can see where it's going. But I'm still now looking at some of the other tones and colours. I'm looking at some of the yellows now. I want to pop in some of those, like around the where it's catching, where you would expect it to actually. It's maybe a bit too. See if we can pop this one. Yeah, it's a bit warmer. So I'm looking at where we're getting a Now we're getting a pop of light. So just looking at all these tones, especially across like the face and everything, you know, where the forehead is. Mhm. And then a little bit as well to tone things down. Keep blowing the chalk off if it's too much. And then again, we just keep looking at where there's any more tones coming through. So I'm like looking between the nose. I think I'm going to have to go with a pencil with this just because it's so tiny. End of the nose is kind of illuminated as well. And again, you know, if you need to pop back any of your background to create some of the shadow in there, then just go for it. That will help a lot as well with your shape of your face. Just getting that shadow back into the right place, because we do end up taking it out because it's so soft focused. So while we're here, I'm going to look at the eyebrow as well. I'm just going to get a little bit of the eyebrow back in. Now these bits, I'm not putting too much. Actually, I do want to pop just a little bit more. I'm now going over the top with a bit of a on the pinky actually. I'm saying here. I'm really just only using a few little lines just to set that in. So that eyebrow is not going to have a massive amount of detail in it. Just going to get the shape, the general shape, because the thing is, everything else is soft and fuzzy and diffuse in the light. So if we start putting harsh details on, it will make our figure feel a little bit strange. So again, I'm literally in there. Let's just put a little bit more, possibly a bit more thank you. So I'm going to go back and pop in, you know, some of these highlights that are coming. So we really start to see them now, can't we? And that's when you start to get that when we're really paying attention to where the light is. Right under here, more orangey. But again, if you're seeing different colours, then absolutely go for it. And I'm just going to have a little look. Look, I've got that in. You know, just getting in. Again, we can't see too much, but just kind of gets the shape of the eye. And I'm just keeping a really soft focus on that. I'm literally just putting a few lines down and a little bit of the fact that we can see a bit of an eye here. Keeping it nice and soft. And it may even be that you just pull some eyelashes over. And that's it. Don't really need too much. Again, same reason, we'll end up taking that soft focus out. And again, you can always pop, you know, where it's kind of a bit more illuminated, just pop some of that shape back in. That side of the eye here where it's kind of shape. Get this lovely highlight over the top of the cheekbones. Start looking at that. And then just we're getting these lovely shapes down here, like the back end of the pastel for that actually. So again, it's looking strange at the moment, but it will all soften down once we get the rest of the face in as well. Just trying to create the shades and tones and the shape, therefore, on the figure. Just by getting these lovely tones into face. Pop back some of the, I've lost where the nostrils gone, for example. So I'm just going to pop back the edge of the nose here, the shadow. Just nice and gently again. I'm not going to put it too, I don't make it too harsh. I will pop in where the nostril is, for example, between there. And looking at some of these tones again. It might be that you've got a bit of a purpley colour or a lilac-y or whatever colour you think. Where it all goes. Any shadows that you want to pop back in, you know, like one here, look, that's just a bit under the eye. And just keep working our way down. Lightening and brightening, just with a soft, you know, just with these warmer colours. And that's obviously where it's really illuminating our face. Beautiful colours on here. Don't be frightened of the colour. And I think the one thing is, with the softness of the face, is that you want them to kind of fuse together a little bit, these colours. You know, faces are soft. It helps with kind of the age of the model. Well, not model, but picture. And then again, we'll just continue to move, get some of those things in. Colours in there. As we come down the face. The lip. So again, we're just putting in tones. That's what we're thinking about. We're not trying to draw the lip, which is really just can be quite difficult. We're thinking about like the orange tones and things on the lip, the colours. And get those shades in. Again, there's no lips on this. It's going to look a little bit strange. Get a nice highlight on there. Just with a really few little movements on there. we can just start to create these lovely lit areas. And then I'm going to go and pop in and pop some of the colour of the lips in. And again, I'm not trying to draw the lips, I'm just thinking about the tones in there. Really needs to be not too detailed again, otherwise it won't look natural. And bring some of this shadow back in the background, I've gone over it. And where the shadows are, I'll pop those back in the background. That helps create that contrast with the background and the shadow. And I'm just going to get the rest of the colour in here so it doesn't look quite so abrupt. So even on the lips there, you might have a bit that's a little bit darker. And I actually did use, I might have even used a bit purple on mine because I didn't quite have the right colour. And then a bit. And soften down this harsh dark bit as well in the background because it feels quite harsh at the moment. And some of that what's that? And then again, we just need to check through, you know, which bits do you want to illuminate now? You've kind of got the key bits in. That's what we're thinking about. Where is it going to? Where's this brightness coming? Just almost touching that those bright spots up now so that it really is much glowier. And it would naturally fall, you know, this glow would naturally fall on everything that sticks out, like your cheekbones, forehead, which is what it's doing, the eye. And it's how we blend that. So you don't have to, if you've got a really linear style, you don't have to blend that. But if you prefer everything to feel a bit softer, because if we look at this from a distance, it will look really striking anyway. But close up, obviously everything feels a bit more harsh. If you're wanting that to blend a bit more softer, then just kind of tap it. We don't want to overwork it and make it muddy because it is a bright and we want to kind of keep that bright. But we're just adding these wonderful layers to it. And then, you know, we can start to look at what's going on in the shadows then. Once you've got like your bits that you really want to be nice and highlighted around here, it's like, well, you know, do I want to pop any shadows back in? Have I got enough? So I will. I need to contour this face a little bit now because I've got rid of all my shadow there. A bit further down, actually, it starts a bit further down. So there's these kinds of questions to think about, you know, and what colour is that? Is it actually a purpley colour? What colour do you want to use? There's no answer really, no right answer or wrong answer. It's just a case of what colours you're wanting to pop in there. So again, underneath where the neck comes and the chin comes all the way around. And again, there's a little pop of a bright colour there. It's like, what colour are you seeing that as? Is it orange? Is it pink? Is it none? Pop of orange underneath the face here as well, where it's kind of being a bit braver with the colour. Tiny tap if you don't want to, you're wanting to keep it. We're really exploring this. It's marvellous. Yeah, and that's only like one little bit, isn't it? So I think at this point, I'm just going to add a very small highlight in the middle. And a bit around. Um, Make that a little bit more curved as well, I suppose. There we go, it's a bit better. And you know, if you wanting to pop a little bit, if you wanted to add a little bit of shape to anything else, you can do that. So I'm just going to press, just have a short pause there. When we come back and have a little think about the other areas as well. So, you know, it's really, we're just thinking about how are you getting that reflection on the face? We're not thinking about the perfection of the face. It's just more how does that light reflect at the moment? Okay, so have a little pause and then we'll come back and have a little look at what we need to do there. I've just realised actually that eye here is a little bit too long. That's what's going on here. Oh, something like so. It's good to have a little break and then start to and then come back and have a little look at what you're doing, and it just gives you a bit of a different perspective when you come back to your work, let's say. So we carry on with this just to see how everything's working out. And again, I'm going to do the same. I was just in here and I'll come back to it now. So I'll do the same with this mouth again. That colour is coming right out, needs to be much further in there. But as I said, I'm not really going to get bogged down with the drawing. I'm just going to pop in some yellowy tones here. There we go. And softening everything down there. Popping a little bit more red tone underneath here, so it's not quite so bright. Makes it a little bit softer as well there. So we'll have a little look at the hair. I'm going to pop the hair on. I can continue doing the arm, coming down with the arm, but I'm actually just going to do a bit with the hair because sometimes that's quite tricky is to work out, what's going on. So I'm going to leave this dark, leave the dark paper coming through, but I'm just going to pop in a few bits, like because you tend to get, I think like here, there's a few little wispy bits of hair. So I might just put a couple of little bits of tones where I can see that there is hair. Not an awful lot. It's got quite dark hair anyway. And maybe just a little bit where there could be some at the back, because sometimes people said, oh, it looks like a head's going on forever. So you can always just pop just a very small amount of where just a suggestion of where it might be. So I'm not putting in a block, I'm just using the paper. And then just getting a few kind of almost something wispy there. I can't see it in detail, but I'm just going to go in and just kind of create, because again, you'll get what we will have is where the light catches some of these wisps. Just some of those bits of hair there. And again, kind of round, right around the hairline as well. So I'm just going to pop in a few little bits. That help us work out that there is some, there's this long hair going around, but obviously we all have get these little wispy bits, don't we? So I've not got a huge amount, but I'm just going to soften them down again. You can just pull them around a little bit. It kind of just creates just enough. You can pop a little bit back. I want to pop a few other little bits in, but again, I'm going to try and keep it as dark as I can. So what I may do though is I'm just going to go in with my pencil, or you can use a pastel as well, and just to create underneath where that wisp is, just to create where the hair is kind of coming over the top as well, of the hairline. And that will help just with both sides. So we know definitely there is hair going on here. Just around the hair, where the front of the wispy hairline is. So we're kind of making it clear that, yeah, that's what we can see. So I'm just going to go in here. I'm not going to draw a lot. I'm actually going to soften all this down so you can't really see it, but I'm putting in just a little tiny bit of movement so that when I soften it all down, it will blend into each other, but it's creating just a suggestion of the shape in there. And it's very dark. I can't really see it. So I am actually more or less going to kind of put this together, soften it together. But also create the illusion that the hair is there. So it's not, that's the bit that can bother our brain actually, not us, but our brain. So that kind of gets rid of that and it'll put our brain to bed for a little bit as well to go, okay, yeah, the hair looks okay. I can see the hair now. Just popping that on. You can make that wider if it doesn't feel right. Just pop that even in further. So that's all I would do with that really. I'll keep it nice and dark. We can't see what's going on with the paper, you see, can we? So there's nothing we can really do other than just create a little bit of what we think might be happening. But we've got enough that we've got a little wisp. I think that's the important bit here, is that we know some illumination there of the front that would be in there is kind of catching a little bit. You can't even see that too much, but again, that's kind of enough really. Pop in. I'm just going to bring that hair a bit further down. Like that. Okay. So from in, there, then we're looking obviously at the dress around this. So I think I'm going to actually pop the dress in because that's underneath the arm. I think that might be an easier way of doing it. Just going to clear my fingers because this is the worst bit, is like taking this if it's too dark on there. So I'm going to go in with the dress now. And again, we're looking at the lit areas and the dark areas. These bits here, we can hardly see. It's so dark. So I'm literally just going to go for a very dull kind of pastel-y colour. I'm just going to bring it in so that we can see that there's lines, but we can't really see what. But I'm just going to use that dark to come through it. And again, these lines are a bit broken up because it is so dark, we can't really see much of it. And that's all I want to do is just a hint of it. It's really dark. You could use another colour if you want to. I'm not drawing thick straight lines. Again, because I can't see any, but I'm just using nothing that's too warm. And there's a suggestion again that there is something going across like that way. It straightens out, doesn't it? Can't see too much. You can see a little bit of where the edge of the sleeve is up here, but not as much down here. Just a very small amount. And again, a lot of this will be in with the shadows and things that we use, the colours. So again, it's looking at getting that shadow across the top of the shoulders. What colour is that? Even very dark, or choose that. It helps it everything to go backwards, doesn't it? Not much illumination at all on that shoulder. Everything's quite dark. And again, you can darken that down with the colours that you're using as well. Make it quite so we can't really see much. So we're just playing a game with the tones and everything under there. You can wobble these up a little bit. Go underneath the arm, and this will look a bit strange again for a minute, but that'll all change. And we've got kind of a shadow in here underneath there. Again, it's like, what colour is that shadow? And pop this colour back in, this darker colour back in. That's underneath where the shadow of the arm is. So all of these things help. Should probably start it there to be fair. But you can't always see everything at once, so don't always worry. As long as you carefully put things on carefully, you'll be fine. And again, might just be that the dress has got some think still quite shadowy in the shade, doesn't it, that dress there? Just bring it out. These are quite helpful, these little contour lines here, because you can kind of get them to shape that dress downwards rather than bring it right out and rounded. So we're using these little contour lines to just bring that dress downwards a little bit at the front there. And then again, you know, where the shadows under there, probably maybe need to fix those in place. And I do that under the arm. I can see the arm here where you got that shadow on the dress for sure there. And definitely between the dress and the curtain are quite a big shadow here cast between the two of those. So that's quite helpful in creating a bit of distance between the front of the dress there and the curtain. I'm going to get that definitely into place because there is a shadow that, even though this is very dark, there's a shadow on the other side. Setting that darker one into, that shadowing one into place there. And then we can kind of have that dress going over the top now. So yeah, so we've got the front of the dress there. Again, look at the shadow that goes between dress and the arm. Get that into place. You see that under there, under where the sleeve of that comes. So this all helps us to kind of create that feeling of depth underneath within the painting itself. And again, you know, we've got this quite shadowy underneath there. It's got a light section, but then underneath it, you can see how dark and how dark underneath, like where the armpit is as well. Again, I'm just looking at the shadows before I do any more on that dress or the arm. So I want to get those dark colours, those darker areas and shadowy bits underneath set into place again. There's also a big crease here at the front that will really help as well. Let's get those in. Now, only some of it I think is really dark. Another colour in there is a bit lighter, so I'll add that in. But I want to get these really dark areas. And again, you know, underneath where the arm is, we can only keep doing that. Just look at where we think it's going to go in there. Again, I can actually start to pop some of these Bits in there. And also, when we're starting to look at the hands, so we can start to shape that, but I'll come back to that, I think, otherwise it might be a bit overwhelming, everybody, if I'm doing two things at once, so we'll do that in a moment. I'm just going to come back to this dress here and start to get that. We've got some of these, again, we can use these contours to help us create the shape of the dress. It kind of goes up and then round and down, and there's quite a lot of shading in there. So I think that shading, I'm almost going to go in with a purple colour again at the bottom of it. Purple blue, a little bit like the candle, I suppose. That's what I'm seeing, but again, we're all seeing things differently. And then I can go over and put the contour lines over the top of it. But again, that looks really bright to me here, that little bit here. So we're just exploring all these different tones. And again, we can get away with putting some of these brights into place because everything is so dark in there. So I'm going to go in with that blue again as well, because I really like to use that one. And I do that in this section here. Slowly what happens with colour. And then I'm going to pop in some of the bright bits off that candle as well before I actually put the lines over the top. Going. So I feel like of course I want to be careful how I mix it in. I want to keep it brightish. And looking at the other tones on here, they're a bit taupey, a bit of a combination between a kind of a taupey colour. So let's see what I can find. And some yellowy colours over the top. So let's see how, no, it's going to be too light, I think. I'll try a bit. Let's see. No, it's almost like white. You see, you've got some colours that are darker normally on black look really bright. So it's just about finding the right. So what about that? Possibly. Let's see what else we've got on here. That one. I'm going with this one. And then I can pop the yellowy colour over the top. So I'm going to go in here just by getting some of the lines in that colour in here. And then I'm going to go in with a pop of yellow, I think. Just decide which yellow next to that top. Yeah, we'll be brave and go in with some bright colour, I think. Why not? But I'm going to go in with a warm colour. So this is the interesting thing all the time, isn't it? It's like, actually, warm is better. Just controlling it, just giving it a bit of shape. Sometimes with pressure on them as I'm going in with stress. on the edge here. Again, it's illuminated beautifully there. And we can kind of put different strokes in downwards and across. We've got the shadow in, so it's quite good to get the overlap of the light over the top of that as well. And I'm going to go in with a bit more warmth in here as well. Looks like just a few, I'm going with a slightly cooler orangey colour here, peach, just between there, in just certain bits above the dress, not all of it, it's just where it's catching that line, so that's going back into the shadow. Can't see as much in there. I'm just tapping that on just to soften it down. There we go. And then, you know, we can look at the kind of colours that we pop at the bottom, whether you decide to or not. But I'm going to get the arms in now so it sets the context a little bit as well. I think there's a little kind of a bow or something on a jacket on the top there. I'll try popping an image of that through. And again, I'm going to pop, before we do any further, I'm going to pop back that shadow in between there underneath. So that can kind of come up a little bit sometimes. And then start to soften down. Now let's look at these lovely colours in the skin. So again, what's in the shadow, what's out. So we've got the parts of the hands out, this illuminated part of the front, but the back is dark. So let's get those shadows in. So I'm going to use the natural paper at the back for most of it. And I'm just going to bring in, like I did with the curtain, just a few lighter, slightly lighter tones over the top. But it's this obviously colour is much cooler because it's like a browner colour. And I'm just kind of using that really sparingly, just to, at the back here, just to kind of contour some of the shapes of the arms and follow those round with just a few strokes. So, here at the top. Shape is what I'm seeing. And we can only do what we think with our art making. Again, this is the back. It's not very strange now because we've got these kind of colours coming out. So just hold fire until we've got the whole thing, and then it will make much more sense. Just brings enough, it's almost like a scraping of colour, isn't it, over there? Just enough that we know. And again, I'm using a few contour lines. I'm following the shape of where I expect that arm to be, and we're coming out a little bit there. And bringing it up towards there where it kind of comes over the top. Kind of creates just a bit of 3D. And another bit, just a bit. So we can just use a lot of this paper to actually help us create some of this shape, and then we'll go in with these warmer colours and it will feel much brighter. So again, just at the side of the wrist here, and then it'll get lighter and brighter. So again, we've got like quite a dark section down the middle there, And then we've got this really illuminated bit at the front. So I'm going to go in with orange and I'm going to go in with yellow quite brightly, like that one there, and follow that down. Colour. White, grey with that colour there. Just go from it all the way down to where you think it goes to. So we can be bold with our brights. And I'm going to put another colour over the top of that in a bit. I'm just, again. So this sometimes can create, you know, it's just how do I create a little bit of shape in there whilst I'm doing it? Well, just soft. Obviously, overworking it will make it muddy, but you can still soften down the edges and make them really nice. So, and down. Okay. A little bit more, I'm thinking. I'll take that off a little bit. And I'm going to bring in at the front of there this pop of white yellow. Just because I've used that colour on the face to illuminate bits of that as well. Feels to me that that's what I'm seeing here. And just softly blending the edge of those two together. I think I may bring it even more of a bit of a deeper tone in there. Just thinking about what's happened to my ribbon. That's this, was it this one? That's it. Yeah, just bringing in a bit of a warmer. I'll bring that round the top of the shoulder. Bring it across here a bit as well. And then I'm also wanting to make sure, because I've got this kind of medium tones and I've got these pops of brights here, but I really want to, there's a bit of shadow in there which needs to kind of, will shape the arm and make it a little bit flatter. I'm just going to pop that back in because I've just lost that bit of the contour there where it has actually, do need a little bit of flattening. It's quite straight on. I'm just going to pop that down where you can see it. It helps a lot with putting the shadows where I want. Now that's actually really harsh now, isn't it? So I'm going to really soften that. I'm going to wiggle that a little bit back so that it's moving a bit into this bit down here, so it's not too harsh. It's just always that balance, I think. Okay, so I think maybe you need to bring in another colour, like a bit of the purple or the blue or something, so it's not quite harsh, so harsh. But we get the idea that it's. So I'm popping a bit of that colour. See what happens. Just blow that away. So what have we got left? Looked at this bit here. So again, I'm quite happy with the contouring there because it is quite flattening the shade. But I will just put a little bit more, like I've just done there with this other colour. Just a little bit. Let's just bring in some, and be very flat if we're not careful. So just some kind of a shape, even though all of that is properly in the shadow. And then let's get this warmth on the front and then the dark underneath and through to the hands, and that will really help us then. So we're wanting a little bit of the dark in there. I'm going with my pencil, but you could use a. So when you bring in here, like where that really is very dark, use just make sure putting a line there for myself to remind me that this is still very much in the shadow here. So I don't kind of go into that contour. It's easy done, isn't it? Well, I'll do the front of it. And then we're thinking about these slightly warmer colours coming through where this wrist is. So I'm just going to put a little bit more of that brown through there. It's kind of starting like starting to warm up a bit. It's warming up. This is the top hand. I do absolutely love doing hands. I used to paint them a lot when I was doing my A-levels and GCSEs, and it's a fabulous topic. And then just some warmth here. So I'm not going to put, because it's still underneath, but it's still getting a little bit of the glow. I'm going to go in with a slightly less warm peach colour here. And just kind of, that's kind of here, isn't it? It's all in here. There's just that suggestion there without it really taking away from the really bits that really are in very warm spot. So we'll get that there. Then we are getting the highlight of it on there, aren't we? So then we can create some of the sides. Again, I'm going to go in with this is how we start creating like where the knuckles go and everything. We're just going in with that tone and the shape that we're creating like that. Look, we're not really doing an awful lot of drawing. We're just like, right, let's get it's a bit linear the back of the hand then. But also it leads into the knuckles. And then we've got this highlight in between on the top. So I'm just going to take that other colour all the way around. Make sure we have got the shadow between the hand and the lantern. That's very important. Lantern. Not the lantern, no, really. And also, because we need to set those into place as well, and what I want to look at is the back of this hand now, and get these shadows into place, otherwise we might lose those. So let's get those into place. So we kind of and then a little think about what colour I'm going to put this little highlight on here. And again, we're just following that shape. So we can see a bit of the knuckle there. poking up and it's got a highlight on. Well, it's not the knuckle, is it? It's the thumb. And we've just got a patch here. So I'm not doing much actual drawing of a hand. I'm just following the colour and the pattern that I can see. And I shouldn't make sure we blow those bits of chalk off. So it's kind of illuminating this area here. And it's not white. I've just gone in with like a light peachy colour here actually. See that shape there, and then there's another bit where that kind of finger is illuminated there. You can just see just a bit of the shape of that going around, but again, we're just looking at shapes here. So that's probably, what could I put in? Maybe there's a bit, maybe I can see a little tip of an illuminated thumb there, or nail. So I'm just going to pop a little mark there. That's it. And then we're going to focus on these bits here. So again, I want to get these put in, the shadow. So it's interesting here. I've got a very tiny bit here. Let me find the brown I was using. Just a hint that there's another arm here. That's it. No, there was not much more we can do with that. And then again, we've got a hint that there's the hand coming around here. But a lot of it, that little bit of brown again, but a lot of it is really hidden underneath with this dipole area. So what we want to do now is get the side of this hand in, but we're just kind of creating the shadow shapes underneath. So I'm going to take the back of this hand and just create three fingers here. 1, 2, 3. Now that's going to look flat at the moment because it will do, because it's really got like a very dark colour on it. But, and then we've got the underside of that, so that hand. So what we need to do is put the shape back in with these lighter ones, and then that will create the 3D. Now there are a couple of other tones in there that are not just a light colour, so I'm going to go in, let's see what I've got. I feel like it needs to be a lilac-y colour again. I'm going to try that. Lilac-y or whatever, but I'm just going to go in. Start to pop that there.